Oh, hey there. I'm just chilling here with my dog, and I just had the worst dream or nightmare. I had this nightmare that they took rap away, and we weren't allowed to have it anymore, which is strange because I bumped into this Russian gentleman today, and he shared a couple of cool Russian rap songs with me, and I like Russian rap. I played him a song, which is what made him recommend some. Anyway, I was telling this to a couple of my friends today, and they were like, dude, you're the only white dude we know that likes rap as much as you do. I mean, you don't just like rap, you love rap. Like, you genuinely know a lot about the artists. You seek out specific types of rap and genres, and you know, it's like, it's hard for us to relate at all to that. And we don't even understand it. And I was like, what do you mean we? He's like, well, dude, me and other white people. I was like, well, what are you talking about? So anyway, I thought about that. You know, I've always convinced myself that I love rap music as much as I do because I love all music. I mean, I could have this conversation with someone who loves country music from the Deep South and know just as much about that country music as they and all their friends do. But I also can do that for heavy metal, black metal, 50s, 60s rock and roll, Elvis, you know, the Beatles, and you name it. I like all music. But rap was one of the first types of music that I ever liked. Frank Sinatra was my very first, that's what really got me into music. And then it was Danzig and Johnny Cash. That's Danzig, Johnny Cash, and Frank Sinatra. That's my trio. That's what did it. But when I was getting into music, it was all my brother's choice of music, which was all great music, stuff that I love today, but there was no rap in there. It was mostly rock and roll, whether it be heavy rock and roll or like Kiss. So my 70s and 80s was very big with bands like Kiss and early Metallica and Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Great White, you know, all of those old Manowar, you know, the Misfits, the Plasmatics, Suicidal Tendencies, the Cramps, you know, all of that. Then I started hanging out with the girls. And the girls were listening to Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, The Smiths, and so I started listening to that stuff too. So my music tastes started changing, drifting from what my brother liked to what I liked or what I thought girls liked. And then I think it all changed, and I don't give this any credit until just thinking about this a lot. I was a part of the 80s busing. Now, what that means, if you're not familiar, it's when the city buses a group of kids from one area of the city to another area, and the kids from that area into the kids that got kicked out of their area. So I lived in Barton Hills, which was one of the nicest places you could live in Austin, Texas in the 80s. I'm talking nice, beautiful. You know, everyone had a perfect green lawn, blah, 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 blah. And you know what's crazy is that there were no black people in Barton Hills. I don't remember seeing a single black person while I lived there. And I would have gone to the junior high school that was right up the street from me. I could have walked to school. But I got picked to get bused. And I got sent out to a school called Ortega, and it was in an all-black neighborhood. So that's interesting, isn't it? I was all white, which feels weird saying, like I'm embarrassed that I was in an all-white neighborhood. I had no choice. My parents picked to live there, but it wasn't their choice either, probably. Nobody thinks about that, I hope. But anyway, but I was being sent to an all-black neighborhood. So that would mean that at the same time as a black person watching this going, yeah, I would feel bad saying that I come from an all-black neighborhood. We don't want no white people in here. We don't need no white people in our neighborhood either. You know, that kind of thing. But I don't think it's any of that. I think it's just people naturally stick together. You know, if you're looking for a place to live and you see 4 white people in a row and you're another race that's not white, you're going to not be as comfortable there, right? You know, you'd be outnumbered. You'd be the minority. So I was the minority at Ortega. And my memories of Ortega are all positive. I never got in any fights there. I only got in fights with other white people. Nobody picked on me. I mean, I was 6'6" back then. But nobody picked on me. I have memories of teachers. I remember that's where the teacher read me Where the Red Fern Grows and Old Yeller. Cried my baby tears off, and the teacher cried near the end of both of those books reading it. Mrs. Horton was her name. I remember I had a little crush on her. Anyway, long story short, before I talk too much, that was when I started meeting a lot of black kids and hanging out with them and talking to them and so forth. And I just realized that it's subtle because I never aggressively asked and they never aggressively pushed it on me. But this kid and I hung out, and I was playing him my music and he was playing me his, and he played me a song called Simple Simon by a band called Mantronics. Mantronics, man. Simple Simon wrote the book, and I wrote the rhyme. Man, that song blew me away. It was like nothing I had ever heard. And from that moment on, my curiosity was about rap. So I started buying things like the Fat Boys, Whistle, Houdini. I got into all of that stuff. I remember listening to Cool C. I got a habit. It's like a disease. I got a habit. No sucker MCs. Cool C, man. You know, all those dudes. I listened to all that stuff. What was Cool Mo D? And, man. And then everything changed when it came to rap when NWA came along. Luke Skywalker had a huge impact, but his impact was being raunchy nudity stuff, talking about big boobies and all that, and P-U-S-S-Y, but also having fun. That was frat boy fun music. That's what Luke Skywalker and the 2 Live Crew was, you know what I mean? But when NWA came out, everything changed. Everything changed. It changed so drastically because something that was considered harmless now became dangerous. Even the 2 Live Crew and the Fat Boys were dangerous. So, of course, that's where our professional slapper comes into the scene, you know what I mean, the Fresh Prince. He was so bubblegummy and candy-coated that it allowed rap music to stay on the radio. So bands like NWA were allowed to exist, so much so that they could fight amongst themselves, break apart, and go to different coasts or whatever, and jumpstart this whole genre from scratch, and then start killing one another. But I've passionately loved rap from the very beginning of its roots. I mean, I remember watching Beat Street and all of that stuff on TV, and how difficult it was to see videos or anything to do with rap. It was so difficult. I remember, man, it's just crazy. Those are the times. And thanks for sitting here with me while I thought out loud about my past with music and carrying around my JVC boombox in the 80s, jamming out to My Posse's on Broadway. Boom, 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 boom. My Posse's on Broadway. It scared my dog when I did that. Anyway, rap is, nothing puts me in a better mood, you know what I mean? And today, now that I'm an old man, when I listen to like this super aggressive gangster rap or whatever they call it, you know, rappers with like names of machine guns in their name and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna say it. So anyway, these guys were all rapping about, you know, shoot you in your face, and they got gold teeth and tattoos on their face and stuff. And I'm just sitting here listening to that and going, it's okay, but I mean, it sounds like bubblegum gangster rap to me, because I grew up in the era when these guys came along, and I was listening to Eazy-E's voice, and I was listening to those beats by Dr. Dre, and I was transferred from where I was in white America, Barton Hills, mentally into another world, a world that was the same world my friends from Ortega shared with me. My black friends from Ortega shared their music with me, and that music was even worse than their environment. These were very well-to-do black children. You know, it was just an all-black school. That's all. These weren't poor kids. They weren't eating macaroni and cheese like most of the white kids that I knew. They were eating well. They were big and buff, and they were doing well. If they weren't big and buff, they were fat. You know what I mean? Moms taking care of their kids up that way. They really do. Anyway, so I was listening to all that stuff and hanging out with those kids, and those memories are some of my favorite memories. I learned so much. So if somebody were to say, does busing work? I'd say, you know what? It does. It may not be fair if you don't let the children pick. If you just randomly snag a kid, you know? I don't know. But, you know, I have to have empathy and think about how much it must have sucked to be one of those black dudes. Because they didn't send girls. Isn't that interesting? It was only boys. But, man, sending all black dudes to a white school. So, ironically, what ended up happening was, what do you think? Every one of the guys that came from Ortega to the other school was a star athlete. All of them but one. His name was David Holmes, I believe. And David was an artist, like me. So that's why I know his name. But he was an artist. He could draw. He was a really good drawer. And I believe he ended up going to Duke University. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's almost 12 minutes. Have a great day. Keep on listening to that rap, baby. Kendrick Lamar's new stuff is here. Hey, Ava. Woke her up.